We are really focused, and our attention to detail is going to be unmatched.
And welcome to hour number 2 of Tiger Rag Radio. Jeff Palermo, along with the executive editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, Todd Horne, and Glenn Guilbeau, the editor of Tiger Rag Magazine. It's a special treat now from the SEC Network. Paul Finebaum joins us here on Tiger Rag Radio. Paul, thanks a lot for spending a few minutes with us tonight. How you doing?
I am really doing great. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the invitation to come on.
Well, it's great to have you on our airwaves. Paul, when Brian Kelly was hired as the head football coach at LSU, I mean, at that time, I believe he said this is an elite coach coming into the Southeastern Conference. Do you still have that same opinion or feeling about Coach Brian Kelly after seeing how this season has transpired?
I did say that, and I still feel like Brian Kelly is a very top-tier coach, but I think anyone who would offer an opinion other than great disappointment and really, if not shock this year, would be telling a story that isn't true. I am fairly shocked at what I'm seeing.
Hi, I'm Mike Munderland, and we're here to smash the capital city's trash.
Smash My Trash is a revolutionary compactor for large dumpsters, sometimes reducing the volume of waste by up to 70%. This means fewer hauls per month and big savings for your business. Fewer hauls and compacted waste will also result in a positive impact on our community and our environment by taking up less space in our local landfill sites. Schedule your company's free demo today. Call 225-497-0101.
Paul, this is Todd. What is the most shocking aspect of this season for you specifically?
It's primarily offensively. It seems very unimaginative. It doesn't look like they're utilizing. They don't have the elite talent may be missing, but it just doesn't seem cohesive or coherent. And quite frankly, it's been exasperating to watch. I mean, the defense, we all know how bad that was last year, and still not great. But the offense is what has, I think, driven me and many others crazy, just watching it stumble and stutter out there every Saturday.
Hey, Paul, this is Glenn. Speaking of elite, what do you think of Scott Woodward's elite reputation as a finder of football coaches? Brian Kelly on the heels of Jimbo Fisher. I mean, Kelly's not quite where Fisher was, but he's kind of heading that way right now. Do you think Woodward's reputation is a little overrated? I've
always been a big fan of Scott Woodward, but Glenn, I can certainly understand why you're asking the question. I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. That's not what I do. But I do think Kelly is entitled to work this out one way or the other, and I think much of how he handles next year will impact your question there about Scott Woodward. I mean, I just think Scott is in a different class than most athletic directors, and a lot of that has to do with his CEO skills. And I don't fault the decision to hire Brian Kelly. I think that by itself was a very top-notch decision. I do wonder about Brian Kelly's staff, though, and I think he obviously lost his OC last year and he got rid of his DC. I am underwhelmed by what I've seen on the offensive side. Now, the defensive coordinator came highly regarded. But back to your question on Scott, I mean, I think he's done plenty of good things there, and I think it feels to me like an overreaction to suddenly wonder about his skills as an athletic director.
Yeah, I'm known for overreacting, Paul. That's why you have me on your show every now and then, I think. Kelly, he hasn't had a losing season yet. Jimbo Fisher did have a losing season, and he came back from that before he was let go.
This year could be a losing season.
Well, he could have a losing season if he it could happen he could go 6-7, I guess, in the bowl. But he had a 4-8 season at Notre Dame after in 2016, after he went 10-3 in 2015, and then he came right back in 2017 to go 10-3. Then the playoffs in 2018, he was in the playoffs again in 2020. So he's been through something like this before, and he went 8-5 quite a few times early on at Notre Dame. But you think? Do you feel like he'll get it turned around quickly, as in next year or the year after?
Oh, I think you better do it next year, based on the questions I'm getting. One thing I'll say, and I followed Brian Kelly very closely at Notre Dame, and there was a moment in time where I thought he had completely imploded, and I made those comments pretty well known on my network. But what he did after that, and most of it was involving staff decisions. He completely overhauled his staff, and he went on that run. And from that moment on, Brian Kelly really won a lot of people over, including me, for his ability to deal in a crisis situation. And guys, I think he is in a crisis situation right now in Baton Rouge. This thing has gotten away from him so quickly. And, he is very skilled at answering questions, as you all know, and I know. But that's not really what's going to determine Brian Kelly's future. I mean, I'm not as close to it as any of you three, but I do hear from LSU fans every day on our program, and they're angry. And they were, I mean, and I've only lived in Louisiana 1 year, but it gave me an appreciation for the people down there. They are the greatest fans in the world until you lose, and then you don't want any part of them. But I think that's what makes fans unique down there. I mean, if I'm sitting there right now in Shreveport or New Orleans or Alexandria or Lafayette or Baton Rouge, I would be calling for his head too. I understand that, but I think you have to be realistic. He's not going to get fired. It's simply not economical, and quite frankly, going back to the question you asked me a minute ago, was it the right decision? I do think it was the right decision at the moment it was made. But hiring the right coach is very difficult. I mean, Billy Napier was hired around the same time. He's done absolutely nothing at Florida. Brian Kelly has at least shown a pulse in Baton Rouge.
Trains are everywhere. You should always expect one, even on private property. Only cross tracks at designated crossings that fit your equipment. If you don't fit, don't commit. Look, listen, live.
Talking to Paul Finebaum here on Tiger Rag Radio. Paul's from SEC Network, hosts a great show. And Paul, you were at the Shreveport Times. What year was that you were in Louisiana?
It was in the. I covered to date myself. For you older LSU fans, I covered Charlie McClendon's last year at LSU. Okay, cool. Well, let me ask you, Paul, is Brian Kelly, is he the only coach that you have on at the same time each week? Every Monday, it's must-see TV here in Louisiana. Or do you have set dates with other coaches during your show? No, and let me explain it.
Go ahead.
Because I've been asked by coaches this, and I've been asked by fans. Before the 23 season, we got a call. Our crew here got a call from Michael Bonnet from LSU and inquired if we would be interested. And my feeling was absolutely. Brian Kelly, one of the best known coaches in the country. So we did it last year. It went very well. I thought it was an interesting intersection of one of the elite coaches in college football. I know you guys kept expecting me to say at the time, but. And this year, when they lost the first game, I'm saying to myself, "Oh my goodness! I mean, how is this going to go?" And he showed up and didn't lose another game for a long time. And but to Kelly's credit, they've never tried to dictate what we should ask or what we. But again, I'm not treating it like an inquisition either. I'm respectful. Although I felt like this past week the questions were firm. They were to the point. They weren't, hey, coach, let's go over Vanderbilt's offensive line. I mean, I didn't care about that, and I know the audience didn't either.
It's time to start betting on yourself. Louisiana 988 can help if you're dealing with tough emotions caused by gambling habits. You can share as much or as little as you want, and it's completely confidential. It's free, available 24/7, and most people who reach out report feeling better right in the moment. Call or text 988 anytime.
Paul, when you look back over Kelly's tenure here at LSU, the 3 years, is it wrong to say that in retrospect, Jaden Daniels covered a lot of warts in this program?
I think that's fair to say right now. Yeah, I mean, I don't think at the beginning of Jaden Daniels' tenure we realized who we were dealing with. He quickly changed the perception, and one player. I mean, that wasn't the only thing, but certainly couldn't come up with too many players on defense last year that we want to remember fondly. So Jaden Daniels was the reason. He had a couple of elite receivers as well. But they got out of a lot of jams with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I think you made a good point earlier, Paul, when you said that, the staff moves by Brian Kelly. I think that's been the biggest disappointment. Polian was his first special teams coordinator. That was a disaster. And then Matt House, his first defensive coordinator, turned into a disaster in his second season. And he's got Blake Baker now. He's just in his first season at defensive coordinator, and they've been better, but it would have been hard not to be better than last year's defense. But it's still not a very good defense. We had one of the players last week said half the team was doing one defense and the other half was doing another on the killer touchdown drive at the end of the game. And his offensive coordinator, Joe Sloan, what he promoted from within, didn't really look at anybody. So I think that's the main thing that he has to get a little better is recruit his coaching staff better. And I thought you asked him the right questions yesterday, and he's always good at answering questions. You can see the political nature of his background. His dad was an alderman and stuff. He's good at answering questions, but sooner or later he's got to answer them on the field, I would think.
No, and listen, I mean, these are awkward times because, the Paul Finebaum that Glenn knew many years ago, it probably would not have gone well yesterday, and we would never talk to him again. But I do want to understand the forum that I'm on. It is a conference jointly not operated, but owned network. But I still felt like it was a worthwhile conversation. And he is quite adroit at answering questions. You're right. And I felt, Glenn, I don't know about you, that one or two questions yesterday he cringed at, especially in talking about the thing that everybody was talking about. And that was, the interactions on the sideline.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know how I could have not asked that. It could have been, we probably could have shown the video and asked him to describe exactly what he was saying. But at some point, you have to make a judgment. But I also want to make it clear to you guys that Brian Kelly said that was our last interview. I think you all know me well enough to know that I'll probably survive and move on. And it's not my world does not revolve around that Monday slot every week. But I've tried to make the most out of it. But back to your question about the staff. No, I'm underwhelmed by Baker. He came in with all the high flying credentials from Missouri, but I haven't seen hardly anything out of him that I like. And the offensive coordinator, I probably would have already fired.
Okay, yeah. Well, Paul, we've just we made an agreement while you were talking that we're going to have you on every Tuesday night from now on. Jeff, you had something?
Well, no. I mean, guys, listen. You guys know me well enough to know. Whether I like somebody or not, I'm still gonna answer a question honestly. And I do like Kelly, but again, that's not going to stop me though. And I'll make it very. I think it's very obvious. He better win next year.
Yeah, he certainly will be on the hot seat, Paul. Thanks a lot for chatting with us tonight. We really appreciate it. Great insight as always. Enjoy your work on the SEC network. And, we might not talk to you next Tuesday, but hopefully we'll get you back on the line here soon.
Thanks, Paul.
Anytime, guys. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Get ready to make some noise this October with the East Baton Rouge Parish Library. Join us for the 11th Annual Baton Rouge Maker Fair on October 19th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., where creativity and music come together. From live performances to hands-on workshops, there's fun with a beat for everyone. Visit batonrouge.makerfair.com for details. Brought to you by your East Baton Rouge Parish Library, where creativity never stops.